is how you make a modular phone. By itself, the mid-range Moto Z Play, or Z Play if we're in the States, isn't anything to get particularly excited about, but snap on that JBL sound booster speaker, fantastic InstaShare Pico projector, or one of the other Moto Mods, and the Moto Z Play becomes something really, really special. So this is the Moto Z Play, or Moto Z Play Droid in the US. It'll set you back around £350 or $450, so it's going up against some strong competition from the likes of the OnePlus 3T. For your money, you get a 5.5-inch Full HD AMOLED display, which looks beautiful, a more than capable but still mid-range Snapdragon 625 processor, 3GB of RAM, and 32GB of storage, as well as a 16-megapixel camera on the back. So what's the difference between the Moto Z Play and its more expensive flagship brother, the Moto Z, which is £130 more? Well, the Play here opts for a less sharp Full HD rather than Quad HD resolution screen. It is slightly chunkier and has a plastic and glass body. It's got a slower processor, a gig less RAM, and no optical image stabilization on the camera. But in its favor, you do get a 3.5mm headphone jack, something that the Moto Z has dropped in favor of its slimmer build. It's also got a much bigger battery inside, and so in some ways, the Play here will actually be the better choice out of the two phones. But both of them do support Moto Mods. They both have USB-C fast charging and also a fingerprint reader built into the home button. In terms of style and design, well, let's call it unique looking, shall we? The phone definitely stands out, especially with its 16-pin connector on the back, which is where you snap on the Moto Mods, but there's no denying how chunky this thing feels. Even though it's only 7mm thick and 165 grams heavy, which is about right for a 5.5-inch phone, its really thick bezels means it feels a lot bigger in the hand than you'd think, and the plastic and glass body is quite slippery as well. With a case or a mod attached, it's definitely a two-handed phone, and the ugly square button and horrible power and volume button placements does take away a little bit from what is otherwise quite a smart looking phone. But the rounded corners do make it comfortable to hold, but be careful you don't scratch that camera lens because it does protrude quite a bit out of the back of the phone. As for the screen, you get a 5.5-inch AMOLED panel, which is like the one you'll find on the Galaxy S7 or Google Pixel. This means colours are vibrant, contrast is high, and blacks are deep. Watching movies, playing games, or even just browsing the web looks great on the screen. And at 403 pixels per inch, the Full HD resolution is more than good enough. Quad HD really is just a luxury and you don't need it. It's even got Motorola's active display technology built in, so if you wave your hand over it like this, you get the time, the date, and some notifications pop up. It uses almost no power at all, and you do feel a bit like a Jedi when you're swiping to wake it up like that. Now, in terms of speed and performance, it's got the same spec as the Huawei Nova phone, which I reviewed last week. It boasts a Snapdragon 625 processor and 3GB of RAM. So power users may be put off by its mid-range spec, but to be honest, in real-world use, it feels just as fast and nippy as much more powerful phones and comfortably runs any app or game you throw at it. Of course, it won't compete in benchmarks with the flagships out there, but it's more than capable, and it really begs the question of how much real-world difference the top-end processors really give you. But if you are a speed junkie and you want the best of the best, you may be tempted away from this and toward the OnePlus 3T, which for similar money gives you the much faster Snapdragon 821 processor and twice the RAM as this. But one of the key selling points of the Moto Z Play here and its flagship brother, the Moto Z, is that it runs a near stock Android 6.0.1 software. So you get a few extra Moto features and little gestures like this. You can twist your hand to open the camera, which is quite cool. But aside from that and one or two little Moto mods, this is basically stock Android, and that's a real selling point for the phone. But while the Moto Z Play may not be the fastest, sharpest, or even the slimmest phone on the market, what this does mean is it has an exceptional battery life. Its 3,510 mAh battery provides a seriously impressive 2-day battery life. A 2-hour Netflix movie running on this used just 10% of the battery, and if you pair it with the Incipio off-grid power pack mod, which you can get as coming out soon, you can get a ridiculous 3-day battery life from this, and the USB-C port on the bottom supports fast charging, so this is an absolute beast of a phone when it comes to battery life. And this is where the Moto Z Play, like the Moto Z and the Moto Z Force, really come into their own. Google's Project Aura may have been cancelled and the modular LG G5 may have been disappointing, but Motorola have done it right. This is how you make a modular phone. Attaching mods is absolutely seamless. They snap on magnetically and within a few seconds you're good to go. This is the InstaShare projector. It simply snaps on like so. There's no taking the battery out or turning it off. And all you need to do then is hold the button here for about 5 seconds and you get whatever's on the screen projected up to 70 inches on a wall. It's absolutely incredible. And this mod alone is almost enough to make me want to just rush out and buy this phone by itself. As I say, it can project up to 70 inches of whatever's on your phone, whether it's a game, a YouTube video, or a Netflix movie, and its integrated battery and kickstand means it's actually pretty practical to use. The quality isn't amazing with a basic resolution of 480p and 50 lumens of brightness, but for a phone, it's incredible. And assuming you have a big enough flat white surface, quality is actually surprisingly good in real life. So when you attach a mod, whether it's the projector, which I've just taken off here, or maybe the JBL Sound Boost speaker here, which again just snaps on like so, you get a little notification, a little ding. It tells you how much battery the mod has, and also if it's the first time you use it, a little quick start guide comes up to explain how to use each one. So far there are speaker, camera, battery and projector mods, which cost anywhere between £50 and £250. And while sound quality on the Moto Z Play is pretty good by itself, if you want a serious volume and bass boost and don't mind carrying around this fairly chunky speaker mod, the JBL Sound Boost does exactly what it says on the tin. And if you want a Xenon flash, physical shutter button and up to 10 times optical zoom to improve the camera, the Hasselblad True Zoom mod will make a perfect addition to your Moto Z Play. Now speaking of the camera, you get a 12 megapixel f2.0 rear camera, which is decent but nothing to write home about. In good light, photos look nice with natural colors and good dynamic range, especially when you're using HDR. But if you zoom in or if you take photos in lower light, you'll definitely notice a lack of detail and a lot more noise compared to the best camera phones on the market, like the Galaxy S7, iPhone 7 and Google Pixel. The two-tone flash on the back does a good job though of illuminating nighttime scenes, and while it's a solid overall camera, you are reminded that this is a mid-range phone when you use it. But what was surprising was finding a front-facing flash, try saying that if you're drunk, next to the 5 megapixel front selfie camera, which actually works pretty well in night or low light shots. It's definitely not something you see very often and definitely complements what's actually a pretty good front camera. Video quality is surprisingly impressive actually, shooting up to 4K at 30 FPS or 120 FPS slow-mo at 720p. Like the Google Pixel, it uses an electronic image stabilization rather than OIS, which makes videos look smooth and judder-free. Video really is quite good actually. I review a lot of phones, and honestly these mods make the Moto Z Play one of the most interesting and exciting phones I've used in a long time. But does that mean you should go out and buy it? Well, for most people probably not, because the thing is, as soon as you've bought the phone and then one or two of the mods, you've basically paid as much as you would have done for the much better all-round Google Pixel or Galaxy S7 phones, flagship phones. And while the projector mod is really cool, and I can't go over just how easy it is to get going, I'm not sure beyond showing it to a couple of my mates or using it once or twice just how often I'd really use it, and especially even carry it around with me. So while this is the best example of a modular phone you can buy, and it makes the LG G5 look old and clunky in comparison, I'm not sure I would actually be carrying around all the mods all the time to make the Moto Z here worth buying. But aside from the mods, there is still an awful lot to like here. It's a terrific phone. It's got a great AMOLED screen. It's responsive thanks to that almost stock Android software, and it has an amazing battery life. But on the other hand, It's quite chunky to hold. It's got a mediocre camera, and for the same price, you could get the much more powerful OnePlus 3T. So recommending this is a tricky one. If you love the idea of the mods and you reckon you would invest in a couple of them, or that projector, for example, really sells you on the whole idea, then go for it. But for most people, I think if you can afford the Z Play and a couple of the mods, then you may as well use that money towards a proper flagship phone instead. But that's what I think. What do you think? Would you buy the Moto Z Play? And if so, which mods do you think would be the best, and which would you buy? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Do make sure you like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And if you do fancy buying the Moto Z Play or finding out more, you can check the links in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on the Tech Chat.